Welcome, everyone, back to the Spiritually Rich Life. I'm your host, Julie Serot, founder of the Dharma Circle. And today we are here with the brilliant and beautiful Lizz Smoak. Liz, how are you?
Good, Julie. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm so happy to have you here. And, you guys, Liz is all about taking your business to that quantum leap next level. And what I love about her is she's super clear about what that takes, what that takes for you and the clients that she's worked with. She's a branding expert and strategist, and she's just obsessed with this. It's something that she loves. It's a topic, from what I understand about you, you could just go on and on for days talking about the topics of branding and marketing and strategy. And I know that's really what it takes when it comes to richness. Having that obsession and that passion about something that you love really does make all the difference. That's how I feel about Dharma and yoga and movement and manifesting. So Liz, how did you get to where you are now? There are so many people who just want to find their purpose. To them, that's richness, is knowing what their purpose is. But you're just so clear about that for yourself. So what did it take for you to get there?
Yeah, as usual, I'm sure everybody says this. It wasn't always that way,
yeah.
Right? I'm sure even for you, it wasn't always that you knew what your passion was. But, there's one huge piece of the formula that momentum can't happen without action. Even if it is the wrong action, momentum can't happen. So the big part for me was, life kind of threw me a huge curveball, pulled the rug right out from underneath me. I'm sure a lot of you all listening have a similar story, kind of a spiritual brick to the forehead. And that's really what kind of started me on this course. I was working a job, many, many hours on a job that I didn't like. My parents were kind of raising my child. I had always known that I was an entrepreneur, born entrepreneur, but never had the courage to step out on my own. And once that kind of brick to the face happened, I realized that I was in better control of my life than my boss or my friends or my colleagues that were highly opinionated about what I wanted to do. So I started off on a path that I knew. It ultimately did not end up to be the path, but it was a path that I knew and I could begin on. And that was really the piece of action that I took that started me on my way. The reason why I say it takes action is because you need real-time feedback on what you're trying to do. And if in our head or we're on the couch doodling these ideas out and nobody is ever watching or listening or hearing except for our friends and parents and neighbors, you're never going to get the vetting or the verification that you need if it's the right thing for you or not. So I say start literally today after this interview, start moving forward. Claim on social media you are today what you want to be, whether that be author, coach, speaker, yogi, whatever direction you are starting in, claim it on Facebook today as your profession. I guarantee you it's probably not going to be what you are in 3 and 6 months, but people are going to react, they're going to engage, they're going to give you feedback, and without that valuable feedback, you won't be able to take those steps forward.
I love that. I so love that. And, when I talk to I think this year alone I've talked to a couple thousand people, over the course of getting to know, in one-on-one calls or webinars or some version, events. And so often I hear the phrase, I just need to meditate on this before making a decision, because that commitment of making a decision about something is just really scary sometimes. And, it's not that I'm making an assumption here, but I'm sure it's not that it wasn't scary for you to make that decision and that commitment. It certainly was for me. It definitely was scary. But for me, it was sort of well, if I don't make this decision and take this action right now, A, I'm really going to regret it. And B, the pain of the life that I was living when it was greater than my fear of where that decision would take me. And I think sometimes you kind of just have to get to that point, and it shouldn't have to be that way. Maybe there are some people who haven't gotten to that point where it was just so painful that anything would be better than that.
Right.
But it's so true. And like, what do you do, Liz, to stay grounded every single day? Because there are times when we fail and we do things that don't create the expected or the desired results. So what do you do on a day-to-day basis to be able to stay in the energy of hope and faith and positivity and moving forward?
So there's two very clear things that I do. And again, I learned this from the School of Hard Knocks because I wasn't always this way. I was very hard on myself. If I had an unproductive day, I spent the whole week beating myself up about the hours lost. So the two very clear things that I do are, number one, realize that this isn't the only thing I will be doing for the rest of my life, right? So many times we either choose something or we're stuck choosing something because we think I am going to be X for the rest of my life. And that just isn't true. So if you choose to, like in your case, to be a yogi or to be an author, that is just one of many gifts you're going to explore throughout the next 40, 50 years of your lifetime, right? Just think of all the things that you've done in the past leading up to this. Mm-hmm. So number one, it's forgiving myself and saying, you know what? I'm not going to be this thing for the rest of my life. People aren't going to know me for the next 40 years on this course or this book or this thing that I'm launching.
Takes the pressure off.
Thing. It's just one time hit of all the stuff. Mm-hmm. That's number one. Number two is when I find myself unproductive, stuck during the day. I do a lot of copywriting. So you got to imagine that sometimes it's just not there. It doesn't flow. And rather than doing all these crazy things, going out and jogging and meditating and drinking tea and trying to force this thing, I just cut myself a break. I just say, I get it, right? It's not for me today. Maybe the frequency is, rather than pushing stuff out, I need to let stuff in. I need to gas on that day, right? And what that means, it could mean checking out a film on Netflix. Mm-hmm. It could be just going back to bed. It could be stuff that we, as productive women, say, oh my God, I would rather die than go back into my jammies, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it is just about gassing up, letting your creativity flow once again, and cutting yourself a break and saying, just can't work on this today. I'm going to go shopping. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go get my nails done. And I'm just going to let stuff realign in the background.
Yeah.
Those two things really keep me grounded and moving forward in my creativity.
I love that. And I what I'm really hearing you say is that there's an acknowledgement of the co-creative process and the dance that exists between you and like your receptive creative nature, and how it's okay to not be in just like drive mode all the time. And so often, I think women like us need that permission from other women like us to say that it's okay to like back off and be receptive. And, I do this thing every Tuesday called Dharma Talk Tuesday on my Facebook business page. And I do a different topic every single week. So it's like constant content generation. It just comes from my own life, really. I don't really like make things up, And so I love what you just said about watching a movie, because this past weekend was like the first weekend that I've taken off in a really long time. And I just spent it pretty much in bed, like eating chips and watching movies with my boyfriend. And he'd never seen Harry Potter. So I've seen Harry Potter like probably 100 times per movie. And so we watched The Prisoner of Azkaban again, which is one of my favorites. And it was actually something that Harry said in the movie that it was like, oh, that's what I'm talking about in Dharma Talk Tuesday. And it was that nugget. And it's like in being engaged with other people's creativity, because that's all that is being inspired by and engaged with other people's activity or creativity. Like we get to be in that dance and in that flow. And forcing it all the time just is kind of unrealistic. So I just love that you just said that.
And that right there that you just described, eating chips, watching a movie with your boyfriend, is a form of productivity, right? Because what happened there? You got the idea. It came out of the most unlikely of places, right? Sure, your boyfriend probably appreciated the time off. But from a business standpoint, you did get some clarity out of just not producing anything physically. It came to you so that you could produce when you are clearer and lighter and ready for that.
Totally.
So it's just productive.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to just like turn the corner a little bit and talk about branding. And I've heard a million different definitions of what branding is. So I'd love to know for this audience what they need to know about branding for their own businesses, lives, whatever it is they're creating.
Yeah. So branding, in a nutshell, the least common denominator is just visibility. And what that means is you can create all day long, and no one's saying you have to be, Coca-Cola or Oprah Winfrey. This is not what we're talking about, right? But take your town that you live in for a moment, because you're probably all working in the online space that's so huge and so global and infinite. Mm-hmm. But take your small town for a moment and think about what you are practicing right now. If you're a coach, if you're a speaker, yogi, whatever the case is. Do people in your town know you as the go-to person? If you are missing the branding piece there, if you don't have a website, or if you don't have a solid social media presence with lots of friends and followers, the answer there is probably no. Because once again, you're probably creating these wonderful things inside of a silo without letting people know, hey, I'm that person that you're looking for X, Y, Z. And that typically comes with your website, your social media presence, and you driving people there through your content and your message. Mm-hmm. If you have not claimed yourself as the person in the XYZ space, you have not branded yourself. I know a lot of successful people who are selling books online, selling products online, without a website, without a social media presence. That doesn't mean they're any less successful because they're collecting checks from Amazon or from distributor houses or whatever the case is. But if I told you who, Sally Joe May was, you'd be like, never heard of her. Branding doesn't necessarily mean profit. Branding is visibility. Right? So you could easily make money on multiple online channels or live workshops in your hometown, retreats, things like that. But if you want to be easily targeted online and beyond as the person that puts X out, it's the visibility that you require. And that's the branding piece that you're missing.
Got it. So what does it take to create that specificity and the visibility?
So specificity, that is subjective, right? Mm-hmm. Because there are hundreds of thousands of yogis. There's hundreds of thousands of authors, right? Mm-hmm. So that I don't want people to get stuck on, well, I'm just not specific enough. It doesn't matter. All you need to do is stake your flag into the ground and say, this is what I do. This is what you can now come to me for. And it's clear, right? I am a money mindset coach. I am a doula, right? Mm-hmm. And your beautiful picture is up there. Doesn't have to be some $1,000 professional photo shoot, right? Your picture is up there. You look joyful, you look clear and happy about what you're doing, and you clearly state, this is what I do, period. And that's the content and the types of things you talk about on social media, on Facebook Live, when you're doing workshops or networking meetings in your town. So people begin to see you as what you are, right? It's not enough just to produce products and just tell people if they can't visibly see that.
Okay, so are there questions for the audience to ask themselves or tools? What are some things that they could start thinking about to be able to pinpoint how to talk about themselves?
Really easy. So website takes money, right? So let's start with social media. It's free and you're doing it right now. Go to your Facebook page right now. Can someone tell, a stranger that comes over to your Facebook page, can someone tell right now what you do? And I'm not talking about a fan page. I'm talking about your personal timeline, which is odds are where people are going to go at first visit. Can people clearly see who you are, right? Or is your profile image, the little square box, you 100 feet away on a paddleboard with sunglasses and a floppy hat? Not a good image, right? Clear face shot, smiling, joyful. In your cover image at the top, is it you and your dog, the back of you walking in a park? What does that do for your visibility? Is it just one more Facebook profile like all my other friends and family? Or are you really putting yourself out there like a professional and someone who wants to attract clients? Mm-hmm. So take an objective look of your Facebook profile. Does it clearly say what you do and who you are? Does it clearly show who you are and a joyous outlook? in your timeline, are you posting things that would be relevant to a potential client or a potential colleague or partner in business? Or are there a bunch of pictures of your dog and your new car and, you know, your manicure, right? Again, not the stuff we want to put out there. So I know what the follow-up question is, but Liz, does that mean that I have to make my Facebook timeline public? In the cases that you are selling yourself, which I'm imagining is everyone listening right now, the answer is yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. If you want someone to trust you with their credit card, their fees, or their fears, their life, then you got to uncover yourself a little bit. Meaning that the brand that you show is reality. If you are showing college pictures with your tongue hanging out, beer in one hand, cigar in the other, you know, that is your brand. Perception is reality. Mm-hmm. And in this day and age, especially women, right, our kids get a new karate teacher, or we've got a new dentist we're looking for. What's the first thing we do? We go to Facebook, we click on those photos, and we get to know the person. Because what is there is reality. So make sure, number one, we can go into website, but I know there's, you know, all kinds of obstacles in getting to a website. But you can start with Facebook right away and say to yourself, am I portraying the thing that I want people to see of me and to know of me? Mm-hmm. You don't have that professional image on the top. And again, it doesn't have to be a professional photographer, but a clear photo of yourself, clearly labeled with what you do, right? Mm-hmm. Yogi to the stars. It needs to be there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I also want to add too that, so, you know, like for mine, it's so funny you say the dog thing because I'm obsessed with I just got a puppy in April and he's like my obsession. And he totally is my Facebook cover photo. It's like me and him on the couch, but it was a picture taken in a professional photo shoot. And the photo shoot was all about my brand, which is around like richness and magic and alignment and things like that. So I just want to be clear, like for me, you know, like my main picture is like me in a dance studio in a mirror, which like movement is part of my thing. And then like lifestyle is a part of my brand. So for those of you who are watching and you're like, oh, like what does this mean? Like, well, what does it mean for you? Like what is your perception for you? If it's like lifestyle and richness and magic like it is for me, then a cover photo would make sense. And at the same time, you look at my timeline and it's very clear about, you know, the content and what I'm all about. Right. And so I think it's really important too. And that kind of speaks into the vulnerability. Like I literally, in my cover photo, let you into my home. You know, like I let you into my home, super transparent. Couldn't be more transparent than that. You know, like I let you into my home, let you into my life. You know, the timeline is public. And so just kind of like edifying what you're saying, Liz, that vulnerability and the sharing is so huge. And I definitely have seen people with a real like fear or reluctance to be vulnerable and to create those connections. And it does prove to be like an obstacle or a block for them. You know, I've seen it at all levels. And so I love it. Yeah.
I hear all the time in that vein, coaches especially crying about, well, clients won't pay my fees, or I can't get over, you know, the obstacles on the phone. And the first thing I ask them is, talk to me about your vulnerability and what you allow people to see and don't see. Mm-hmm. So they're just mirroring right back to you their apprehensions. Yes. Same thing.
Yeah. And that mirroring thing. We haven't really talked about that so much on this summit. We've kind of gone into it a little bit in these classes, but I'd love for you to just speak on that a little bit more from your point of view. Like, what is that mirroring piece and how does it work?
Yeah, so the greater idea of mirroring and what we see out in the world and what we dislike out in the world is just pieces and parts of ourselves, is something that I am just now learning and wrapping my mind around. And but from a business standpoint, you will attract what you are. If you are fearful of what you're putting out into the world, of your products, who the heck is going to buy this? Nobody's going to pay for this, right? Nobody will pay for it. And if you are very confident, and all of you listening have been in this situation, You're going in to buy a big ticket item, whether it's a car, a house, a sofa, whatever. And if the salesman is a low talker or, no eye contact, you're disinterested. He doesn't either believe in his product, believe in himself. He's not giving you the energy. Someone likewise can probably sell you a piece of junk, and they're so confident and so exuberant, and you just want a piece of that energy. And it's no different in business. You will attract what you are. So if you check in with yourself before strategy calls or before going out on a presentation and say, how do I feel about this? Do I feel deserving of this client, of this money that I'm asking them to pay? Do I feel qualified to teach this individual where they want to go? If the answer is yes, by all means, go for it, because you're probably going to nail it. If the answer is no, you know where you need to work. You need to work on removing those blocks of unworthiness, of financial lack, so that you don't attract more of that into your life. And it's a very needed practice in business. A lot of people are doing it because we all have our own blocks.
Yeah. So on days, which we all have them, where you're feeling kind of like down or something happens and it's like the energy's like, woo, what do you do to pull yourself back up?
I have a dialogue with God. Okay. And at that moment, I say, you know what? I really feel kicked in the teeth. I really feel unworthy. I really feel afraid. Labeling what you're feeling is a big part of overcoming it. Mm-hmm. And I don't try and talk myself out of it and say, oh, you rock and you're really amazing. I don't try that stuff. I just kind of acknowledge it. And I say, you know what? Everybody goes through this stuff. And Lord, I know that there's something better for me. I know that there's a plan, that I'm veering off the track, and I'm going to let you take the wheel. And I feel the pain. I feel the depression. I feel whatever it is that's going on in me. But I also realize it's part of my journey. It's not going to be, high energy every single day. And it doesn't mean because someone doesn't like me, doesn't like my product, doesn't want to pay, whatever the case is, it's not a reflection, once again, on the rest of my life. It's today. It's a snippet in our lives. And the sooner we can acknowledge it, give it out to the universe, the faster it goes.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing you say is not kind of covering it up or pretending it's not there or being in denial of it, but really being in full acknowledgement of it and full conversation with it. And again, like at the co-creative process, like invoking the help of something bigger and the support and the conversation with something bigger, whatever that looks like, for you, for God, source, spirit, flow, whatever it is.
My favorite quotes on that topic is rejection is the universe's protection. So always keeping that in your back pocket that, wow, this didn't go the way I wanted it to. Don't even try and figure out why. Know that it's the right thing for you at that moment.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Yeah. So having that, as well as not bulldozing through the experience, I think kind of going back to that ambitious woman mindset, there's that tendency to just bulldoze through life, the goods and the bads. And that's like the opposite of being present. And it's not very easy to be creative when you're in that energy. I've done it, and it like works to some level, but then something happens. There's a threshold where it stops working. Yeah. So that's really what I'm hearing you say. And again, I think it's so important to speak into that, because I know there are so many people who are watching this conversation and they're like, oh, thank you for the permission to stop and experience.
And eat chips. Yes.
Right. Exactly. So on the topic of richness, what does richness actually mean to you, Liz?
So it means a couple things. So let's talk about the obvious, financial richness. I have a charge in life that I've kind of grown into, that I want to educate women as much as possible, that they have the power to profit. The reason why this is so important to me is because women who are not broke, unfulfilled, stressed out, make better mothers, in turn, make better children, right? And I speak to that because I was one of those broke moms. I remember putting quarters in my gas tank and stepping up to the gas station and being like $1.82 in gas, right? And that sucked. Luckily, I was not a mother at that time. But when I experienced motherhood and realized even the way that I was brought up, I realized that it doesn't take much to change generations ahead of us. If we start working with moms and trying to clear out their ideas of lack, fear, unworthiness, right? So my charge is making sure that you get profitable with your gifts. You don't have to make major investments. You don't have to push shakes and pills and supplements for direct marketing companies. You have everything you need right now as you're watching this interview. The faster you get to profitability, meaning a bank account that you don't have to watch with one eye open, right? The less stress you will feel in your life, the better you will be to be around your friends and family, your children especially, because you're not feeling broke and unworthy and stressed. The second part of that, which typically comes with some form of financial comfort as well, is spirituality. Because again, if you're lacking in all these areas and the wolf is at the door and you're eating beans or cereal and your bills are not getting paid and you're afraid that the knock at night is your car being repossessed, there's probably not very much room for the universe and spirituality and God either, right? Because all you can think about is my life sucks. So spirituality, of course, is the other richness. It allows you to open up your space and understand that not all the stuff that happens to us is because someone's got it in for you, right? Doesn't mean that God doesn't like you. All it means is that you are closed, you are not ready to receive. And as spiritually rich as we all can be, it can only affect the relationships around us in a positive way. Mainly our children, our spouses, anybody living within close quarters of us. So for me, richness is the obvious. It's profiting. And the second is clearly spirituality. And I think both of those work hand in hand for impact. I know a huge theme of yours is impact. Yes. And we cannot be as impactful as we want without the financial gain as well. Sure, we can help 5 or 6 people in our local community, but can we help 5,000, 10,000? Probably not, because that takes money. It takes resources. It might take travel, right? So I want you all to acknowledge that there are marketable gifts inside of you that ultimately will lead you to your universal impact that you're looking to make.
I love that. That was so beautifully said, and thank you for acknowledging both sides.
Yeah.
It's important to acknowledge both, I think. And I couldn't agree more on all accounts. So that's perfect. So I know there are some people who are watching and they're just like, okay, this is amazing. I want more of this. And they would love more support from you. And what you are giving, Liz, to this audience is incredibly generous. And so I'll let you speak a little bit about what your free gift is.
Sure. So there's 2 things, actually. The first is kind of our gift to the audience, but the other is also an invitation. I am very reachable. You can find me at lizzsmoak.com. You can find me on Facebook at Lizz Smoak, and you can private message me. You can email me. I will call you on the phone. If you feel that you're at a place where you're ready to move forward in a big, bold way, I am happy and more than willing to help you get there. And I'm not talking about a hey, hire me kind of thing. I'm talking about from one woman to another and to the men also watching to help you get over the obstacles that are facing you right now with things that you can implement right now in your life and your business to get you moving forward. The other part of that is we are focusing right now in my business on authors. The reason why we're taking this direction is because everyone has a story to tell. And becoming an author of some sort, even if it's a blogger or a collection of poetry, sets you in a direction of healing and, again, profitability. So many times when we find ourselves hurt, depressed, lost, many of us take to journaling, writing poetry, even just scratching our feelings out on a piece of paper. And we find a healing sense to that. I mean, if you know the back end story of Eat, Pray, Love, that's how it started, right?
Right.
So that's why I've really taken this niche and focused on writers who are looking to heal their wounds, overcome their fears, and deliver a beautiful story to the universe that not only can create passive income for yourself, but also give you authority in the direction that you're going in, whether it be a coach or speaker or yogi, what have you. So through that, we have a private Facebook group. It's a mastermind called Writers Ignite, and we would love to have you there for free. And there we help you along the path of becoming a published writer, even if you don't yet consider yourself a writer, but maybe you're filled with stories. How do you quickly get that out into the world? So it's everybody there, from novice writer to published writer, poets, bloggers, everybody's there. So we invite you there for free to come on over. I'm sure there's a link below this video. Yep. So you'll find us at Writers Ignite on Facebook.
Perfect. Liz, so generous. And so you guys, if you're looking to start writing, to become a published writer, to hone your skills, if you're seeing Liz and you're like, I need to talk to this woman, then go handle that right now. Don't wait. And I'm so grateful to you, Liz, for taking the time and giving your energy today to this audience. I mean, I receive it. It's been so inspiring and wonderful to speak with you and to learn from you. And I just appreciate you so, so much.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you so much. It really means a lot to me to be able to speak to those that follow you, which I know are a very dedicated and loyal group of individuals. So I feel honored as well for the space. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, and to all of you who are following us, I acknowledge you as well. And time is very precious. And so you're here with us, taking care of you, taking care of your Dharma, your richness. And I acknowledge that. That's really what it takes. And I will be seeing you in our next conversation with these amazing experts in the spiritually rich life. Until then, have the most amazing day. Bye.